Guys, sweater weather is upon us once again. What is going on? It is Greg with Fullcourt Nerd, and we have the NHL season. It kicks off in a mere couple of hours from right now, and I wanted to share with you my predictions for who will actually make it to the Stanley Cup and who will win the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, if you recall from last year, at this time, I actually predicted that the Blackhawks would defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning, and if you do not believe me, I don't want you to have to go and do your research. Just take a look. That gives us a Stanley Cup Final of the Chicago Blackhawks against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think it's going to be a very long series, very competitive, back and forth, high emotions, all that jazz, but I think the Blackhawks end up pulling it off. And then not only that, I made a new prediction video at the start of the playoffs that also had all four teams in the conference finals. And it will be a Blackhawks and Lightning final. So with that said, obviously I'm not going to go against what I said in the preseason. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning going up against the Chicago Blackhawks. It's going to come down to goaltending. I can't go against the Blackhawks. I'm not trying to be a homer. That's my prediction. Blackhawks over Lightning in 6 games. So yeah, I'm riding pretty high right now. Let's start over in the Eastern Conference, and let's start with that Metropolitan Division. I actually think you will see 5 teams come from this division. I think you'll have your normal 3 teams that will get in, and both wildcard teams. So be on the lookout. You're going to have the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the New York Islanders. They will all make the playoffs, and the 2 wildcard teams will be the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have gotten a lot better. If they can stay healthy, adding Brandon Saad is just a huge get for them. And then the final wildcard team in the conference, I think, is going to be the New York Rangers. They've lost Martin St. Louis, but I don't think that's going to be as big of a thing. They're hopefully going to have Lundqvist back for an entire season. Hopefully he can stay healthy. They do not have the benefit of having Talbot, though, because he was shipped out to Edmonton, but I think the Rangers do have enough to get into the playoffs. And then rounding out the Eastern Conference over on the Atlantic, I think you're going to have Boston. I think Tampa Bay makes it back. They are a good young team. Their window is very narrow to get something done if they are in fact going to do that. And then how can you not give a nod to the best goaltender, Carey Price, in the NHL? I think the Montreal Canadiens will also get back into the playoffs. Now the big matchup, and I wish that this was not going to be a second round matchup, but the big matchup is going to be Pittsburgh against Washington. Pittsburgh added Kessel, Washington added Oshie. You have a huge, this is your conference final right here, basically. Whoever wins this is going to the Stanley Cup. A lot of people are picking Pittsburgh. It's hard not to when you have Sid the Kid, Malkin, and Kessel, but I'm going to go with Washington. I think they get over that hump this year. You have Ovechkin, you're adding Oshie to the lineup. I think Washington has what it takes to be a Stanley Cup contender. Holtby, a lot's going to be on your shoulders this year, and hopefully you can actually help your team in the playoffs this year. In the Eastern Conference Finals, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning will be going up against the Washington Capitals, and I think the Capitals will go on to the Stanley Cup. Over in the West, I think, again, the Pacific Division, you're only going to have 3 teams represented from that division. You're going to have Anaheim, and it's not because I really like Anaheim. They have a great first line, but the rest of their team, depth-wise, is terrible. Anderson folded like a lawn chair in the playoffs last year. If he can just get his mind right, the Ducks could go far. I don't think they're going to make it to the Stanley Cups because the history has told me that the Ducks just fold in the playoffs. I also think that Calgary will get in. They were a surprise team last year, I would say, and I think San Jose is going to get in as well. I don't think San Jose is going to go far by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they get in. Then the other 5 teams in the Western Conference, they are all going to be coming from that Central Division, which is the best division in hockey, bar none, not even a question. The 3 teams that are going to be getting in from the Central Division, you will have Minnesota, the Blackhawks, and the Nashville Predators. Your 2 wildcard teams are going to be the Dallas Stars, and I don't have any confidence in Antti Niemi, but you add Patrick Sharp to Tyler Seguin in Dallas. I think that is a huge benefit for them. And then the final team who's actually going to be playing with the Pacific teams is the St. Louis Blues. And I think that's a huge benefit for the Blues. I don't think the Blues are going to have any issue going up against those Pacific Division teams in the playoffs. Yes, you lose Oshie. You still have Tarasenko, who is a stud in his own right. And maybe it's the homer in me. It probably is. I don't really care. But the Chicago Blackhawks, they are just the best team in hockey. They have lost a lot, which rightfully so they had to, but I kind of prefer their team a little bit better this year. Really, the biggest things working against the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be health, not being stupid, and just not being exhausted. If all of those 3 go in their favor, I think they're going to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals. I am actually picking the Chicago Blackhawks to defeat the St. Louis Blues in the Western Conference Finals. Now, as for the Cup itself, you are going to have the Washington Capitals going up against the Chicago Blackhawks. It is hard to get back to the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row, even harder to win it 2 years in a row, now that this whole free agency and salary cap and all that crap is going on. I do think that the Blackhawks have a great chance to win the Stanley Cup. They're second in 2 years, but I also think that the Capitals can make it a good series. They play the Blackhawks very well in the past couple of years, and I think it's going to be an awesome matchup to see the Capitals go up against the Blackhawks. Now, probably this is a homer thing, but I was right last year, and I'm going to stick with my guns here. You got to beat the champ to be the champ. I think the Chicago Blackhawks will win the 2016 Stanley Cup. So let me know what you think. Am I completely off bonkers? Now, last year this time, you might have said I was off bonkers, but I did say that the Blackhawks would beat Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup. So
haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
Let me know what you think in the comments below. Get me at Twitter or Facebook, wherever you want. We can have a nice discussion. Let's keep it friendly and fun. And until next time, see you on the green. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because it really helps us out a lot. And if you have a couple of minutes, please check out some of our other videos. And of course, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. But you had a lot. Sharpie. Thanks, Rachel.